Good day, everyone. My name is Darwin Esteral, and my group mate is Mateo Idahan. Our research proposal is all about household electrification of Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton, solar energy as an electrical source. The problem and its scope. Introduction.
Rationale of the study. Since the early 90s, the Philippines has always been prone to recurring power shortages. Power interruption commonly occur during the summer months, when electric power plants run low on dispatchable reserves due to increased electricity demand. In 2019 alone, almost 10 yellow alert status have been issued by the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, indicating that the operating reserves of electric power plants have dropped below the required generating capacity. According to the National Electrification Administration (NEA), there are around 2,319,660 homes that still have no access to electricity. And part of that are the household of Sitio Kabankalan of Barangay Tayak, Siaton, and Negros Oriental. To help the people living in Sitio Kabankalan to have access to electricity, we come up to the idea of installing solar panels on the roof of every houses in that area. This project will be the answer of Sitio Kabankalan's electricity problem and will help them to live comfortably. The goal of this project is to provide them illumination at night and to power their gadgets like mobile phones. Next is the statement of the problem. Most of the remote areas of the Philippines do not have access to electricity due to some issues. One of the reasons is that remote areas is really far from substation and has a minimal number of households, and investing power lines to them costs a lot of money, and the return of investment will take a very long time. And investing in solar energy will be the answer of electricity problems. It will be an on-site generation of electricity and will only cost less than investing in power lines. Particularly, this study aims to answer the following questions. Number 1. What is the ideal solar panel capacity that can be installed on each household enough to power 2 light bulbs and convenience outlet? Number 2. How does solar energy as an electrical source will affect the lives of the people living in Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton? Number 3. What are the factors to be considered in using solar energy as an electrical source in Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton? Number 4. What are the electrical materials needed in the installation in each household? And lastly, what would be the estimated cost in installing solar panel system in each household? Next is the significance of the study. The result of this study will be beneficial to the resident of Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton, the environment, and other researchers. First is the resident of Sitio Kabankalan. This study is beneficial to the resident of Sitio Kabankalan because the solar energy electrical system that will be put on their houses will provide them illumination at night, and it can power their electrical devices like mobile phones and radio. They can do a lot of things during nighttime because they can see things clearly thanks to the solar-powered light. And if they have existing gadgets, they will no longer worry if the battery runs out because electricity is now available in their home. Next is the environment. Solar energy decreases greenhouse gas emission by generating electricity with the solar power instead of fossil fuels, can dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions, particularly carbon dioxide. By going solar, we can reduce the demand for fossil fuels, limit greenhouse gas emission, and shrink our carbon footprint. And the researchers. This study will also be beneficial to other researchers who are also having research related to solar energy. The data and information of this study can be used as reference for the research. The recommendation of the study can also be made into another research study for the future researchers. Next is the scope and limitation of the study. The study will only cover the resident of Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton. And the number of solar panels to be installed in each house will be calculated just enough to power 2 light bulbs during nighttime and convenience outlet that they can use anytime to charge their mobile phones or radio. And also, the materials needed in the installation are solar panel, solar charge controller, battery, inverter, receptacles, convenience outlet, light bulbs, and wires. And lastly, the estimated cost for installing this solar power system, including the cost of materials and labor fee, will range from 15,000 to 20,000 pesos. This estimation will vary depending on the area because the cost of the materials may also vary from the area. And then next is the theoretical framework of the study. A photovoltaic cell or solar cell is an electrical device that converts the energy from the light of the sun into electricity by physical and chemical phenomenon when it is being exposed to light. Solar cells are described as photovoltaic, whether the source is sunlight or an artificial light. They can be used as a photodetector in addition to producing energy by detecting light. This is the figure 1, the solar cell. We can see that in the figures, this is how a photovoltaic cell works. Figure 1 shows how photovoltaic cell works. According to research from Planet Energies in 2019, to produce an electric current, the electrons need to flow in the same direction. This is achieved using 2 types of silicon. The silicon layer that is exposed to the sun is doped with atoms of phosphorus, which has 1 more electron than silicon, while the other side is doped with atoms of boron, which has 1 less electron. The resulting sandwich works much like a battery. The layer that has surplus electrons become the negative terminal N, and the side that has a deficit of electrons become the positive terminal P. An electric field is created at the junction between 2 layers, and that's how the photovoltaic cell works.
Conceptual framework of the study. This study is anchored in the concept that the energy that can be harnessed from the sun is a good idea for household electrification in remote areas that does not have access electricity, specifically Sitio Kabankalan in Barangay Tayak, Siaton, Negros Oriental. As the sun provides more energy than we'll ever need, electricity from solar power is a very important energy source in the move to clean energy production. So instead of suffering the lack of access to electricity, Figure 2 shows that electricity from the solar-powered electrical generating system will be used to electrify each household that do not have access to electricity in Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton, Negros Oriental. This will be the conceptual framework of the study that will be used to answer the call to produce electricity in Sitio Kabankalan. In order for Sitio Kabankalan in Barangay Tayak, Siaton, Negros Oriental to have access to electricity, installing solar panel is one way to help them. This is a big factor in contributing for the people living in Sitio Kabankalan to lessen their burden in their everyday lives. Solar energy is very important to mankind because the sun is a sustainable, green, and reliable source of energy. It is a fact that there are remote areas that are not being reached and serviced by power generation company. Through the installation of solar power system, costly installation and cabling fees, our regular electricity distributors can be avoided. Research methodology. The solar-powered electrical system in the housing units of Sitio Kabankalan was designed enough to power 2 light bulbs and small plug loads like cell phones. The expected load of the system is about 50 watts, 210 watts rating of an LED bulb, and around 30 watts for plug loads, which is a total of 50 watts. Considering to use the load for 5 hours a day, we will get 250 watts hour of total power to be supplied every single day. The researchers will consider the 250 watt-hour load to be supplied every day to determine the size of the solar panel, solar charge controller, inverter, and the battery needed in the system to work. So this is the figure 3, which is the presentation of solar panel and the battery. So considering 250 watts load, we need at least 50 amp hours 24 volt battery. This size of battery when fully charged can be power the house for 2 days based on the expected hours we were using the load. So the storage of battery is equal to the ampere hour rating times the volt rating equals 50 amp hours times 24 volts. It is equal to 1200 watts hours. With the 50 amp hours 24 volts battery, we have a stored power of 1200 watts hour, but considering the depth of the discharge of the battery, which is 70%, we will only use 840 watts hour from it. So the Philippines is a natural advantage for solar development because of its high number of peak sun hours, from 4.5 to 5 hours on an average day. These peak sun hours will be our factor to determine the size of the number of solar panels to be installed to charge the battery. We now divide the watt-hour rating of the battery to the number of hours the sun is peak to determine the minimum size of solar panels to be installed. Minimum size of solar panels is equal to 1200 watt-hour divided by the 5 hours is equal to 240 watts. So this is figure 4. It shows the process of solar power electrification when it is installed in each house in Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton, Negros Oriental. So the design for the household electrification in this study consider using standalone PV system for installation, since Sitio Kabankalan, Barangay Tayak, Siaton is located in mountainous part and have no access to an electric grid. In installing PV panels or the photovoltaic panels, some factors are considered by the researchers, including the following. First, the selected site, either at rooftop or ground, should not have shades or should not have any structure that intercepts the solar radiation falling on the panels to be installed. Second is, the surface area of the site at which the photovoltaic installation is intended should be known, to have an estimation of the size and the number of panels required to generate the required power output for the load. This also helps to plan the installation of inverter, converter, and battery banks. Third, in the case of the rooftop installation, the type of roofs of its structure must be known. In case of tilt roofs, the angle of tilt must be known and necessary mounting must be used to make the panels have more incidence of solar radiation. Ideally, the radiation angle must be perpendicular to the photovoltaic panel. And last, possible routes for the cables from an inverter, battery bank, charge controller, and PV array must be planned in a way that would have minimum utilization of cables and lower voltage drop in cables. So, in determining the total estimated cost in installing solar panel in each household depends on the price range of what type of panel to be installed. To determine the total estimated cost, we need to add all the expenses of the materials that will be used installing solar panel and the labor for the installation. That's all for our research proposal. Thank you and keep safe.